and the announcement by the South Koreans that I'm sure you're aware of, that the North Koreans are apparently willing to talk. I know the White House has kind of taken a lead on this. I'm just wondering what the State Department's role in any such talks will be. Are you involved, or is this something that has bypassed this building?
Sure. So first I can say we are closely coordinated with the Republic of Korea on efforts, conversations, and everyday activities that affect our country and theirs as significant allies. The State Department has been speaking with the White House about the proposed upcoming meeting later this week. We've been in constant communication with the White House on this. In terms of the meeting with South Korea and also with the DPRK, we don't have a play-by-play of that just yet. We will wait for the Republic of Korea to come to Washington and to be able to brief us on those meetings. As you can well imagine, any phone call that takes place from Pyongyang to Washington, D.C. would have a lot of ears listening to that. So we prefer to have those conversations in person in a secure environment. We look forward to meeting with our South Korean allies when they do come to Washington to get a full brief on that conversation.
Right, so you're saying that you're not interested, or the administration's not interested in a telephonic conversation? It was any conversation that you would have with the North Koreans would have to be done in person?
No, Matt, you completely misunderstood what I said.
All right.
What I said was...
Did anyone else misunderstand that?
What I said was, as you were asking about our conversations
Right.
coming out of this meeting, and our understanding is that the South Koreans are still in North Korea at this point. We aren't going to get a readout of that meeting from the South Koreans while they are in Pyongyang. We look forward to having them come to Washington where they can fully brief us in person, in a secure environment, on all the details of that meeting.
Okay, sorry, I did misunderstand that. Well, the Secretary, as you mentioned, is going to be leaving and will be in Africa. So clearly he wouldn't be able to be involved in such a conversation unless it was by secure video or something like that. Is he planning to be...
Well, as we determine who will be coming to the United States from the Republic of Korea, I think the White House will then assemble a list of people who would be appropriate to invite. Obviously, if the Secretary were here in Washington, I think that would be at the top of the President's list. However, the Secretary will be in Africa at this point. As you all know, there's a lot of protocol that's involved in putting together these meetings. Officials oftentimes like to be matched. The certain numbers of people from the United States, from South Korea, is typically matched. So we'll look for the White House for an actual invitation list and to learn more about who will be attending that meeting.
One person who would be an obvious choice would be the special representative or special envoy for North Korea. How is and you don't have one at the moment, that's vacant, how is the search for his replacement going? And is it possible that person could be selected in time for whatever?
Matt, you well know that we have plenty of experts in this building, led by Susan Thornton, led by Mark Napper, led by our other colleagues, Mark Lambert, who is an expert on North Korea. We have plenty of people who are more than qualified to have these types of conversations with the White House and also the Republic of Korea, our ally. So when the White House decides to determine who will be invited to this meeting and who will be represented on the South Korean side, we will look forward to providing our best complement of people to address that.
You know that there is a person, a currently serving senior diplomat, who used to do this job. I don't know if he would do it again, but he's currently the ambassador in Thailand. Is there any thought given to him?
Matt, if you want to join our White House PPO team and help find people to join this administration and the State Department, you sound like you know a lot about that. So I could certainly put forward your name.
For the envoy position?
I could put forward your name for the envoy position, or if you want to come work for the State Department in recruiting. Go ahead. Hi, Michelle.
What is the State Department's take on the language that came from North Korea on this subject via South Korea? They actually used the word denuclearization, talking about if security could be assured and if the threat was removed to North Korea. So what's your assessment of that language that's coming out?
I think what we're going to do, we're not going to parse that language. There were obviously meetings that just took place in Pyongyang. We will sit down with the Koreans. We'll have a conversation about what next steps we want to take. I mean, I certainly think that this is a step in the right direction. The president addressed this a short while ago. Many people didn't think that this day would come where we would be at this point. The president tweeted about this earlier today when the president said that, possible progress is being made in talks with North Korea. For the first time in many years, a serious effort is being made by all parties concerned. The president was realistic, but also recognizing that we are at, I think, what is a fairly good point when we are having conversations with our allies about the next steps. But I'm not going to characterize everything that North Korea said.
Okay, but just a few weeks ago, you were characterizing the fact that South Korea and North Korea were starting to talk, and you expressed skepticism on the part of the State Department.
Well, and I think the president did too in his tweet earlier today, where we have obviously recognized that talks have not gone as well as we would have liked them in the past, where North Korea has pulled back on promises that it has made in the past. So that's why I say I think the president is appropriately realistic in this. But I don't want to box in the White House, the State Department, or any other government entity of ours in going into these conversations. We want the United States and South Korea to be able to have full conversations about the next steps.
The State Department, it seems like on virtually everything to do with North Korea and a number of other matters, it's always a referral to the White House where it's quoting the president's tweet, or the secretary himself says you're going to have to ask the White House about that. I mean, why is there
Michelle, I disagree with that assertion completely. If you look at the amount of time that out of the State Department that we have talked about the issue with North Korea, it is probably about 70% of our time has been spent on North Korea. The secretary, and I've witnessed this on many occasions, this is his top issue that he will bring up with not just our allies, our partners, other countries, all around the world. The secretary has spent a tremendous amount of time on trying to handle the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula and pushing that forward as a part of our maximum pressure campaign. The White House, of course, an important part of it. The White House will be hosting this meeting, and we look forward to being a part of that. I'll move on. Jenny?
Thank you, Heather. North Korea demands compensation for the nuclear freeze. Will the United States compensation for that? Or
I'm not familiar with that, but no, I can't imagine that we would be.
But the US,
I don't have anything for you on that.
Okay.
Okay.
The other one.
No, let me get to somebody else because we're
One more,
stick to
one
North
more,
Korea, and
please.
then I'm going to go to another issue. Sir, do you have a question about North Korea? No. Okay. Okay, go right ahead.
Yes. The DPRK just said that it will freeze all the weapon testings before the summit next month. So I'm just wondering that is the South Korean officials have just contacted the U.S. side to say that probably we could consider freeze the military drill that is just scheduled this month. Is there any contact, or they just said something about that to the U.S.?
I can tell you that our principle and our policy of denuclearization and working toward the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula has not changed. It's something that we share with Japan, with South Korea, and many other countries in terms of getting in conversations about what will come out of our meeting with the Republic of Korea. I'm not going to get ahead of those conversations. Okay, let's let them play out. Lori, you want to talk about Iraq?